week 5. Happy first day of school yesterday for those who started school or who had little peeps starting school or big peeps starting school. And so today I'm going to talk about transitions, which I have a really hard time with. I have a hard time with transitioning from summer to fall, or loss and grief, or once I feel able to return to my life after a season of loss and grief, which can be so hard. That's a big transition for me. I'm trying to think of what other transitions might be in life. I mean, I feel like they're in motion. Life is in motion all the time. And it's an illusion if we think that we're not transitioning all the time, because I believe we're always transitioning. But there are blatant transitions in my life. Even if it's exciting, there's anxiety for me. So, and I have to tell you, usually at the end of summer, I'm dragging my feet and I want to backpedal because I want summer to last longer. Another transit. Okay, and this is a transition. When the time changes for me, oh my gosh, it really throws me off. I need about 3 weeks to get adjusted to the time change. So I have these areas of high alert that I pay attention to, and I use tools to manage those times so that I can get the most out of my transitions. So hard to explain. So that I don't just, show up in life default mode, and then think, where did fall go? Where did that month go? That isn't a good place for me to be in. I need to be more intentional all the time. So I've come up with tools for managing transitions that really work for me. And I am going to, the first one I'm going to introduce will help with the second tool that I will talk about next week. I'm going to transition to a different video right now where I demonstrate the first tool I use when coming up against or in the middle of a transition. And I would love it if you said whatever you consider a transition for you, because I'm just like drawing a blank here all of a sudden, because I know there are a zillion ways people transition. So over the course of their life, or even during the day, or over the course of a year, or whatever. And so I would love if there are any transitions that pop up for you that you're like, oh, that's a kind of a challenging time for me this time of year, or when this sort of thing happens. For me, what happens after summer is I'm teaching summer camps, and I'm teaching young people art during the summer. And it's not really a high output art making time. When I've looked back, I know my patterns. And because of these tools, I do know my patterns. I'm much more aware of what my patterns are. Then I go into art making. This is basically high art making time is in October. It starts in October. And then there's a lot of wiggle room for that. I never want to but I'm just saying, generally in my yearly cycles, there's a lot of, all of a sudden art making starts to take off in October. I've come off of teaching summer camps, and I've kind of like gotten back into my routine in September, and then things start taking off, or a different routine in September, and then things start taking off in October. So but nothing's ever set in stone. I just want to say that we want things to be set in stone, but they're not set in stone. And there's no rigidity to this. I don't want this to be rigid. I'm not a rigid person. I don't think I am. I just like to have a structure so that I can honestly say, you know, so I can be honest with myself. Am I doing what I want to do? Am I putting the work in where I want to put the work? The tool that I'm going to show you is good for anyone. And I'm sure many of you are very familiar with it and use it. So we will segue into that now. Thanks for coming along here. Week 5. See you next week.